Welcome to episode 75 of C3 Crystals, Cauldrons, and Cocktails. We're going to do a part 2 to our Skinwalker, our Skinwalker episode. First, though, I have to say we're drinking our bubbling brujas again this week. Since we're still on the same topic, I thought that would be appropriate. Plus, I love them. And since we're talking about skinwalkers and there's that danger of drawing attention to ourselves, I like the idea of having the juniper protection from these drinks inside. She just rolled her eyes at me. Also, how have you been?
Well, we've been good. I'm gonna spiel a little bit.
Okay.
So this week was the longest week of my life. Okay. We got a dog.
Yay!
And she's adorable. She's a little corgi puppy. We saved her from a rehoming situation.
Mm-hmm.
But oh my gosh.
So it's like being a mother. You're getting a little taste.
Yeah. I looked at my husband and I was like, this makes me not want kids. Like, if the dog is this much, I could just only imagine a human child. Because, like, you can at least leave the dog at home by itself and go to work, and it's usually fine or whatever. But with a human child, you can't do that.
Yeah,
like, you can't just leave it. So, like, there's luxuries to having a dog. And I'm kind of been conflicted because I really miss my dog, like my past dog. I don't know what, did I ever say her name on here?
I don't know.
Ariel. Her name was Ariel. And I really miss Ariel. And so Ariel was a dachshund, and this puppy's a corgi. And so they're very similar in how, like,
their body shape,
but it's just like the way she jumps into bed. I'm like, oh, you remind me of Ariel. And so I had a little crying fit the other day because we also have our cat, you know? And so I was stressed because I thought we were stressing out our cat. Our cat's been upset, but like not as upset as we thought she was going to be, which is good. Like, she's actually interacting with the dog, not happy about it, but she's interacting with the dog. And so I had a little crying fit because I was like, I'm upsetting our cat, and I'm upset because she reminds me of Ariel, and it's this whole thing. And when we first got our cat, like, I was obviously happy, right? But I wasn't like instantly in love with her, you know? Like, I mean, kind of we were when we got her for a reason.
Right.
But it's also, I'm a person that needs to adjust. And so I'm in that adjustment phase. And so I'm in that phase with, and our corgi's name is Honey. And so I'm in that phase with Honey right now where I'm like, I really like you and adore you, but I'm not in love with you yet.
Yeah.
But I say that, and we were the same with our cat, and I literally pick up our cat and I deep sniff my cat because I'm just like, I love this smell. I love this cat. So I'll be like that with Honey eventually. It's just, it's an adjustment for all of us. She's still like, she wasn't really trained. She's 9 months, so we didn't get her. She's not a puppy. Like, I mean, she's puppy, but not puppy. And so it's an adjustment for us because we're training her. She has no skills. She didn't even know her other name. Like, when we called her, nothing. So
okay,
that's why we changed her name. We were just like, if you're not going by your original one, we're not really a fan of it anyways. Let's just do something. And I named her Honey because she is a tri-colored corgi, and her main color is like a dark ash brown, and then she has white on her chest and belly, but in her face she has little dots for eyebrows, and like on the sides of like her cheeks and everything is the color of honey. So I called her, her name's Honey.
Yeah, I've seen pictures of her. She's so cute.
She's adorable. She's a lot, but she's so happy, which is important.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, but this week has felt like 20 weeks all in one. So I'm exhausted. I've been waking up. Usually I wake up around, let me think, 7. Okay, for like work and school. But this past couple of days, we've been waking up at 5.
Oof.
And like, it's not like the 5 o'clock where you can just like, oh, after I take the dog out to pee or after I see what she's like upset about or whatever, I can just go back to sleep. It's like a 5 o'clock, you're awake.
Yeah.
And so I'm tired, but I'm not complaining because I'm really happy and
Well, good.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was exciting news for sure.
Yeah, it was like I've been looking for a dog, but nothing ever really seemed like no dog like on the phone. I mean, it's hard to connect. But as soon as I saw that she was in a rehoming situation and she was probably kept in a room all day or a crate, and the pictures that they had, she just stole my heart. Like her eyes. It's the eyes for me, and she's the sweetest sweetheart.
Oh.
So we're having a good time. It's just an adjustment.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
That's so exciting.
I remember holding her because we drove a total of 12 hours to get her.
Oh, my God.
And so I remember sitting in the car. She only wanted to sit in my lap, and she's not a lap dog. Like, she's a bit too big to be a lap dog. And I just remember tense. I was so tense holding her because she didn't want anything else, but she was scared. And I just remember going, did we need this chaos?
What were we thinking?
What did I get myself into? But I'm really glad that we...
For sure.
Yeah, I'm really happy.
That's
and
awesome.
Hopefully we have a similar bond to... I mean, it'll never be the same to what I had with my other dog.
Right.
But I'm hoping it's something at least similar. And
every love is different.
Yeah, exactly. And my husband didn't have that bond with my last dog because that last dog, I had her for 10 plus years. Like, you can't break a bond like that.
Yeah. But
I'm hoping he has a bond with Honey because he never had one with Ariel.
I'm sure he will.
Yeah.
Oh.
So how have you been?
I don't even know. You think it's been 20 weeks in the last week. I can't even figure out what I did in this last week. I have no idea. Just work and that's all I think I did this week.
Yeah.
Well, let's just jump right back into it. We got to finish this Skinwalker episode. So let's pick up where we left off. I think we were talking about that girl whose grandfather had the connection with the natives out west, and I was pronouncing it Utes. And my husband, I was telling him about it, and he's like, "You mean the Utes?"
Okay.
And I was like, oh,
yeah.
I don't know that I can go back and fix all the spots in that episode that I said Utes.
And I know our listeners are like face palm.
I know.
Are you kidding me?
I'm sorry, y'all.
No, but I mean, it's a good learning experience. Like, the best way that I learn is failing.
Yeah, well, that was a fail for sure. I'm sure we had everybody cringing last week, but anyway.
But now you know, and it's fine. It's absolutely fine. Utes.
So
I should have
I'm going to forget and probably pronounce it wrong again.
No, it's okay.
So just bear with me because in my head, it's always been the Utes. So anyway.
You're more of a reader. So
I am.
I'm more of I don't read. And so I get all of my information from my studies or like videos. So
okay.
It's okay.
So back to this girl and her grandfather. He learned these things, that much like fish can only live in the river and come up for air only for a few seconds, the skinwalker must remain in the desert to thrive. When a skinwalker enters a forest, his life force diminishes by the step. If you ever see a skinwalker and he is pursuing, look for the nearest forest and go there to hide in its darkest shade.
Okay.
Which I thought was interesting because I have a did you know in a minute, but let me do one more fact.
Okay.
Skinwalkers are the most visible in the desert. And if you make eye contact with them or face them forward, you will likely see their eyes glow yellow, which is what you were talking about, day or night. And it is in the desert that the skinwalker is both the most powerful and the most vulnerable. The desert during the day is the best place to catch or kill a skinwalker. And so I thought, well, that's quite interesting because deserts, did you know that deserts aren't always sandy and hot? Antarctica is the world's largest icy desert. And so I had no idea that Antarctica was a desert. And that makes me think, are there forms of skinwalkers there too?
That I do not know because see, and I know we talked about this. I can't remember. Our skinwalkers, I know their origin is from the Navajo tribe. but could they be in other tribes? Because
I think so. I mean, it's that whole south area, all of those connected tribes there, at least as far as Skinwalker, but there are other cultures and other tribes, natives of other countries that have similar
you have
creatures.
The Inuit tribe, and they're in the
correct.
They're in the snow, so it could be
the snow.
The snowy desert. I mean, it's not Antarctica, but
correct. But yes.
Okay.
But I found that interesting, and what defines a desert, which I probably should have looked up, but I think it's got to do with the amount of rainfall or the lack of rainfall during certain time periods. So by going into a forest, which is almost always lush.
Yeah. And I know that a lot of these stories take place in around Arizona, because that's where the like reservations area, and those are desert, dry climates. So it makes sense to say quote unquote desert. Yep. Now the icy desert is very interesting.
Yeah, I had no idea. I thought.
But then if you would say like the Cherokee, for example, who are more like Georgia.
Yeah, they're here in our area, North Carolina,
Georgia, where we have more like forests. So would they be?
So maybe there's not Skinwalkers as prevalent here.
Maybe, and maybe it's not because it's a different practice in Cherokee tribe.
Maybe there are different.
Maybe it's a different
monsters.
Species. Something. Okay.
So when a Skinwalker's eyes glow, they are at their weakest because they are using all of their available energy to broadcast fear to potential predators. The best time to strike a Skinwalker is in the middle of the day in the desert when they are making eye contact.
Okay.
But if they're making eye contact with you, then they can take over your, your actions.
Yeah.
Yeah. So you'll have to have a little bait person out there for them to take, go look at that guy. Hey, Wren.
No, absolutely not.
I'm just teasing. Skinwalkers are afraid to hear your name. If you call your given name out loud, I wonder if that's written correctly. Skinwalkers are forced to wait until the vocal resonance dissipates, and this can take hours. Skinwalkers have no names because they all consider themselves part of the shift or the ability to turn into any animal. If that was supposed to say if they hear their own name.
Yeah,
didn't you say something about that when at the beginning? Didn't you say something about calling their name or something?
No.
Oh, I guess I'm remembering my research. But yeah, so names, which names of demons are supposed to be a powerful thing too. The true names, I think, in a lot of cultures are powerful.
Yeah, well,
things.
maybe it's like if it is, you say your own name, maybe it's because they've given that part of themselves up.
Oh, maybe.
And so
that makes sense.
I mean, I guess in a way could like render them powerless because they have no name. They have no identity, but you do. So you have that power over them in that way.
I like that. That makes logical sense. Skinwalkers.
Wren is logical.
I am logical.
Wren is logical for once.
I think you are the most logical of both of us. You're the science one.
Funny.
So anyway, I think you're always logical. It's the fact that I can be logical that is surprising. You don't think I'm logical?
Yeah, you're logical.
You're just not logical. You don't think.
Me?
Yeah.
I'm
we
logical.
Have totally gotten
logical.
Off track.
We are both logical.
You just confused me.
LOL.
All right. Skinwalkers typically live in caves where man cannot reach or on top of the highest mesas where we can't get to them, where humans can't get to them. While being able to shift, they must assume their human body during rest. They are still vulnerable to human patterns of existence, so they seek out places of rest that are seemingly unattainable to humans. The Utes would use this to their advantage and climb nearby cliffs to catch or kill skinwalkers when they least expected it. Now, this grandfather dude that this girl's telling us about, he said that skinwalkers, when they're sleeping, are at their most powerful.
Oh.
In the state of rest, the strength to shift circulates through their body over and over again. So that if they're disturbed during rest, they're at their strongest and can kill you in an instant.
Wow.
Yeah, her grandfather told of a story of a particularly nasty group of 2 skinwalkers who killed several children in an Ute village. A group of brave warriors tracked them to cliffs where there was this giant half-domed cave about 200 feet up. And the bravest warriors in the region snuck up that cliff. And when they reached that cave, they opened fire on the 2 skinwalkers. The skinwalkers were not to be deterred and instantly killed 3 of the warriors with their bare hands. And the remaining warriors kept firing. And finally, the skinwalkers lunged toward the edge of the cliff, telling the warriors that they would come back for them another day. Skinwalkers sloppily shed fur. This is where I knew I had read this somewhere. Skinwalkers sloppily shed fur. Try saying that 10 times fast. And you can use it to summon them. So when skinwalkers turn back, it's just as ugly as when they turn. It's just as bad for them to turn back into human as it was turning from human into their shape. And instead of cleanly shifting back into human form, they often leave chunks of their fur behind, sometimes up to 6 inches long and 2 inches wide, which is called bent skin. If you find bent skin, you can lure a skinwalker by blowing on the chunk of fur into a fire. The skinwalker will instantly follow the scent to your fire without question, instinctively. And this was the native Ute's method whenever they could that they would use, but it was very rare to find bent skin without actively knowing where to look for a skinwalker to begin with. So how do you defeat a skinwalker? While it is virtually impossible to kill a skinwalker in human form, there are magical ways to protect yourself against one and possibly kill it. Traditional faith healers can perform ceremonies to protect people from the danger of the creature, or a person going out at night can cover his or her body with corn pollen, cedar ash, or juniper berries. If a person discovers the creature's human identity, he can kill the witch by saying their name. Joe, you are a skinwalker, and apparently that's enough to kill them.
Interesting. But then that switches it up from the previous discussion.
I know.
Okay.
And Did you know?
Go ahead. Why would you want to defeat a skinwalker if they're so powerful and you can't quite, do that? I know that based on a lot of stories that I read, that people just don't go out at night. Like after the sun goes down, you just don't leave your house.
Yeah, but if they're doing evil things or, if they're out for revenge, the only thing you can do maybe to protect your people is to kill the skinwalker. But I found it interesting that you could cover your body with juniper berries. Did you know that gin comes from the juniper plant?
And somehow you're going to wrap it into saying us talking about amethyst.
Well, that too. I should probably sleep with an amethyst tonight after having these drinks. But, if we are protected from skinwalkers while covered in juniper, do you think drinking these drinks that I made tonight is going to protect us from the skinwalkers? So bubbly brujas is a magical potion to protect us from skinwalkers.
I feel like
I'm fully protected tonight.
It's on your internal, and so it wouldn't deter them externally.
Well, they just I can dab a little behind my ears.
Oh, okay.
So we should have these bubbly brujas every night, don't you think? It'll keep us safe. Somehow I don't think our husbands will agree with that.
No.
We're going to go drink gin. It's to keep us safe from skinwalkers. Bye.
Yeah, woo.
Skinwalkers are notoriously hard to kill, as I said, and attempts are usually not successful. Trying to kill one will often result in the witch seeking revenge, which, like you said, so then why would you even try?
Yeah, just don't go out. Don't go outside.
But it says the successful killing of one generally requires the assistance of a powerful shaman who knows the spells and rituals that can turn the skinwalker's evil back on itself. And like you said, who knows how much of that lore is left today. Another alternative is to shoot the creature with bullets that have been dipped into white ash.
Mm.
However, this shot must hit the witch in the neck or the head.
Okay.
More from that grandfather's story above. He talked about something called the white wind. And he said this was the expression that the natives used to describe the effects of speaking into quartz rocks to a skinwalker. So kind of like going out and saying the name, it was the resonation that somehow weakens them. They're greatly weakened by voice vibrations of quartz rock. Medicine men would carry with them giant quartz rocks and set them up on a cliff to send out warnings to all nearby skinwalkers not to come near their camp.
Mm-hmm.
But this could only be done if you actually had evidence of skinwalkers in the immediate area. You can't just do it. You know, it's not like a ward that you can put up indefinitely. You have to know there's one there, because otherwise it doesn't necessarily work. The natives thought that quartz resonated with souls, and that if spoken to with the proper countenance from a medicine man or warrior, that the quartz rock would speak directly to the soul of a person or animal. And it said there's this one story about a particularly aggressive skinwalker who chose to stand outside the camp to intimidate the tribe. He stood in an elk form, and the elder medicine man walked to a nearby rock face, put a giant quartz on top, and sang the name of the most recent victims to the skinwalkers over and over again. And within a matter of hours, the elk began violently kicking, turning from human back into elk and back again, until it finally started taking the shape of the victims that it had killed.
Oh.
And then the medicine man commanded the skinwalker to turn back to its elk form and jump off its cliff to a final death. And the next morning, the tribe woke up and found the skinwalker in human form split in half over a pointed stump.
Oh, wow. Okay.
So I thought that was interesting. Now, I read somewhere, probably in one of the urban fantasy books that I like to read so much, that you can kill a skinwalker by burning their skins. That during the day, when they're in the human form, you know, if it's taboo to walk around with the pelts with you, you have to hide them during the day. And that if you can find those hides and burn them, that would kill the skinwalker, which actually makes sense. Another Reddit account says that fire will kill them. Some say silver, which that's a common thing. I'd like to do an episode actually on using metals in magic. But I've never heard of someone using silver to ward off a skinwalker. But it is a very common paranormal tool. Yeah. Silver, werewolves can be killed by a silver bullet. But again, if silver does work for skinwalkers, it said you have to stab them through the heart, through the head, or decapitate them.
Okay.
Although decapitation works even if it's not silver. You just cut off their head and that does it.
Yeah.
I found one source that said if a skinwalker is captured and the news is broadcast, that witch will die within the year. Oh. So if you happen to capture it, then, keep it in vines or whatever, and it'll die in a year. I don't know. Okay. So I know we both have stories, and I'll start with the first one, and then I want to hear some of yours. Okay. And if we have time, then we can go talk about some more. But the most famous story that I've come across about skinwalkers was recent, 1987. Okay, not that recent, but recent as opposed to ancient times. Skinwalkers burst into the wider public consciousness when they were used as a defense in a murder trial. Oh. Isn't that bizarre? Yeah. It was in Flagstaff, Arizona. The body of a 40-year-old Navajo woman named Sarah Saganisto was found behind the hospital where she worked. A former English professor at Northern Arizona University named George Abney was accused, arrested, and taken to trial. The defense argued that it was a skinwalker that had killed the nurse based on the fact that she was Navajo and was found with a broken stick across her throat and a clump of graveyard grass near her truck. Her left breast had been bitten off, and she was beaten with numerous stab wounds. The defense claimed that the two objects of evidence were evidence of a skinwalking ritual. He was at first found guilty, but then he was acquitted a year later. The nurse's own family said they believed he was innocent and that it was a skinwalker. And they actually reopened the case a year later in 1988, and the murder remains unsolved.
Interesting. But why would there be stab wounds if they could shapeshift into...
Well, remember how it said to become... maybe it was you have to do this heinous act. Maybe it was...
But didn't it also say it had to be a sibling?
Or somebody very important to you, a very loved family member. So we don't know. It could have been, who knows? But it actually made the news in the fairly recent history and was used as a legal defense in court.
Oh.
So tell me some of yours.
Okay. So this one I got off of a website called cultivative.com. We'll link it.
Okay.
And they're just stories. There's no names, And this one's titled, "It Moved Like a Toy Rocking Horse."
A toy rocking horse.
Like the rocking toy
Yeah.
horse?
Yeah.
It's not, organic. This one's a short one.
Okay.
It says, "My uncle is Mexican and Native American. This happened in the Mojave or Mojave, I don't know how to say. Mojave Desert in Southern California. He was driving around with his girlfriend late at night, and they saw something that looked like a huge black dog on the side of the road. He slowed down, and the dog began crossing the road. Instead of walking like a normal dog would, this thing moved like a toy rocking horse. He stopped it."
Interesting.
He said it stopped in the middle of the road and stared right at them, and its eyes had glowed red. Red. My uncle is the most badass person I know, and it scared the crap out of him.
Interesting.
Right? Ugh. I don't know. If I saw a dog that was like teeter-tottering across I don't know what I would do.
I don't know either.
I have no idea.
Well, and if it was trying to make eye contact, maybe it was trying to gain domination over the people in the car.
Maybe.
How horrifying would that be?
Terrible.
What else? Tell me more.
I have one that says it was like it knew we knew what it really was.
Oh my God.
This one's a little bit longer than the other one. It said, "I decided to join my bestie, Karen, for a 3-day stay at her grandmother's place on the res. Her grandmother lives near a place called Tuba City in Arizona, in the middle of nowhere, but surrounded by rural homes." And I can never say that word right. Rural.
You said it right.
Okay.
Yeah.
We go to college together, and I was kind of interested to know about Navajo tradition. The first day we stayed, it was pretty chill, nothing out of the ordinary. But then her grandma, not old, maybe around 67, said that a stray dog came out of nowhere and wouldn't leave. So it's another dog.
Okay.
To me, it did act kind of strange, and it was ugly. Not my words.
Poor dog.
In parentheses, it says, "Black, scraggly coat, looked like a mixed breed between a German Shepherd and a Lab." So if that kind of puts it in perspective a little bit. And I mean, German Shepherd coats are kind of dense already, and kind of scraggly. And then they say, "That night we were watching a movie in the living room, had big windows that looked out into the front where you could see the cars, nothing fancy, but the curtains were wide open. Grandma was in the kitchen cooking dinner, and we were watching a movie. Next to the window is a medium bookshelf where you put the DVDs. Karen went to put back a DVD and freaked out because that stray black dog was staring at them through the window, on top of the wood box outside."
See, that's one of the definitions that we talked about before.
Mm-hmm. Not something normal dogs do from my point of view or hers. Usually my dog, which is a house dog, scratches at the door to be let in. Res dogs aren't house dogs, and dogs inside houses are frowned upon in Navajo tradition because this is meant to, it's meant to protect the house and owner.
Okay.
So the other dogs seem to stay away from it. Karen opened the door. I don't understand why Karen's opening the door.
Let's open the door and see.
Yeah.
That would be a River thing to do.
No. I would
Let's
be the
go
one
see what
like,
it is.
Be like, why the hell are you opening the door? So Karen opens the door. Go ahead.
I was going to say, I want to touch it.
No, absolutely not. Karen opens the door and yelled at it to get off the box. It ran off behind the shed.
Okay.
We went to Tuba City to get some groceries the next day and came back to the house. The dog was nowhere to be seen, nothing unusual. Grandma went to visit some people, so it was just Karen and I. About 5 o'clock, we heard someone trying to open the door. Both of us looked out since no one's car was in the driveway.
Mm-hmm.
And no dogs were barking. None of like the grandma's dogs were barking. Looking out the living room window to the door, there was the dog trying to open the door with its paws.
Oh my God.
Yeah, 2 paws wrapped around the brass doorknob, standing on its hind legs. I'm getting goosebumps. I'm getting goosebumps right now. Hold on, sorry. I thought that was weird, but wasn't like really freaked out. Karen was. She opened the door. Again, Karen, why?
Karen, what are you thinking?
She opened the door and chased it off. Grandma came back later and Karen told her grandma, and her grandma didn't like how that sounded.
Yeah.
But they got ready for bed as usual. We slept in the spare room since it had 2 beds. One window with curtains opened a little bit. Again, I don't like that. Just close the curtains all the way, right?
Right.
We turned off the light. There was a sound coming from the top of the roof.
See, this all is going with what we talked about.
Pitter-patter footsteps and scratching sounds and panting. It then sounded like it jumped off onto the large plastic water barrel they had. At first, we heard what sounded like barking, but as it grew louder, the other dogs seemed to be barking at something also. But all of a sudden, something was running around the house barking, and it was no dog. Nope, it wasn't. This sounded like human. A deep male voice barking like it knew we knew it wasn't a dog. It sounded, in the description, it's like woof, 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 rough, rough, arf, arf, arf. Just exactly like that, adding the W's, R's, and A's to the barking. Then panting again by the window, and we started freaking out. Again, Karen's dumb. Karen decided to open the curtains. She wanted to see what was outside.
I'm sorry, Karen. I'm right there with you. I would be doing the same thing.
There was the stray dog on its hind legs looking into our bedroom, but this time it stunk. It was smelly.
Oh.
And what I thought were 2 black holes in the neck, another pair of eyes twinkled. Think of those ugly, glossy, spider eyes staring at you like when you shine the light from
oh my God.
in the grass. And the paws were deformed, looking hands with overgrown, somewhat thick, sharp fingernails.
Oh my God.
Again, both screaming and shutting the curtains closed. Grandma came running through the door and seeing it. First thing she did was grab ashes from the fireplace, load three shells into the shotgun from under her bed, bless herself in Navajo, and went outside to shoot it. Yelling in Navajo, which I don't think is like an actual, like yelling in Navajo.
Right.
It's not a language, but this I'm just reading for like word for word.
Okay.
About the thing wasn't welcome there, and to get the hell out of there for it to go linger elsewhere.
I wonder if the ashes were white cedar.
Maybe. And like, why does grandma just have white cedar in her? I
mean, maybe that's a
fireplace?
common wood there.
Maybe,
I don't know.
Maybe.
I have no idea.
Then both being traditional, the next day they called a medicine man to come over and put cedar in. He prayed over everyone with cedar smoke and an eagle feather, blessed the place, made us eat bitter herbs called eagle's gull, or something, as in like she didn't really know what eagle's gull was, and gave me an arrowhead. Apparently I need to carry one for protection and in a little pouch called corn pollen. Seems to work pretty well.
That's everything we just talked about.
Yeah. The medicine man said the dog was a skinwalker, which in Navajo is a long word for, I call them Yoshis or Yashis. The body of the stray dog, which was killed by the skinwalker. See, this one says that the skinwalker kills the animal to attain what it looks like. But then I have another question. Let me finish the story and then made an illusion so we wouldn't know it wasn't a real dog. He also said that Yoshis tend to harm people by using some sort of human bone straw to spit at someone. Think like spitballs, but deadlier.
Yeah.
And get human bones into them. Doctors can't detect it, but the medicine man that day pulled a piece of human skull out of Grandma's right shoulder, pretty big, about 2 inches long and 1 centimeter thick. It was real because we watched him pull it out of her. That was intense. And that's story.
That's the story. I mean, that's the word they came. That was intense.
Intense, yeah.
So yeah, Wren, that was a little intense.
See, but what confuses me, because I'm like torn between, the skinwalker has to kill said animal to obtain its skin. Otherwise, where does it get its skin?
See, that makes sense to me too.
Yeah, but you also have stories where it mimics, and I mean, there's one story that I don't have it written down, but it looked exactly, not exactly, but it looked like this person's wife, and he was outside. Like the wife was outside in the middle of the night. They had locked the doors. All the doors were still locked, and he woke up to hearing banging on the window, and he woke up, his wife wasn't laying next to him, and it looked like his wife outside.
Oh, wow.
And his wife was still in the house. And so, obviously the skinwalker didn't kill her to obtain her skin to look like her. Yeah.
I mean, it could have been a different kind of shapeshifter, too. There's all kinds of stories.
True. Yeah. Yeah. But wasn't that one a good one?
That was. And, well, I've got another one then.
Mm-hmm.
This says, me and my family believe we were being stalked, hunted, haunted, teased by one or more skinwalkers. This has been going on for years, on and off. We live on a farm, and these entities are making more frequent appearances as of late. My kids are scared, and they've actually seen it several times, as well as myself and my husband. Even believe there to be one indoors from time to time.
Oh.
That's frightening.
Yeah.
The glimpses I've seen at first glance appear to be a naked human, and it moves with extreme speed, faster than I'm able to keep an eye on it. It peeks around corners of the outside of the house at my kids, makes human and animal cries at night.
Ugh.
It's terrifying. We've found doors unlocked and left open at night, and when we investigate, we catch a glimpse of it. Garage doors, too. Garage doors that no one ever opens, mind you. There's no explanation for it. Living on a farm, we're used to the sounds of coyotes howling, the barking of different animals of prey screaming when attacked. The screams of what we're hearing lately is not the same sounds of coyote attacks. These are like screams that sound like a human howling cries. We've never heard anything like it before. I don't know if there's something that can be done to keep them at bay. I believe many of these entities come in and out of our dimension, but I would love to keep them out if possible.
Ooh.
Which that's interesting. But, foxes make, that song from high school where what does the fox say? You remember that song?
Yeah. But foxes scream.
Mm-hmm. So, but it wouldn't be human looking.
No, it wouldn't be human looking. Ew.
And then I've got one about a Wendigo.
Okay.
So this girl, it's her story. She says, I'd set up camp on some national forest land, cooked dinner, climbed into my tent. As I was drifting to sleep, I heard something funny. It was like the sound of something small dragging something very large across the ground right outside my tent.
Ew.
So did I leave something out there? I wondered, a tarp, a duffel bag, a cooler. But for the life of me, I couldn't connect the sound of what was being dragged to anything I had seen or left outside. Thinking it must be some kind of very strong animal and knowing it was right outside my tent, I punched the side of the tent, hoping to scare the animal away. But it didn't move. It actually paused and then continued dragging. I punched the side of the tent again harder, same result. So I unzipped the tent. She and Karen are they're related. I unzipped the tent to look outside. Nothing. Well, whatever it was gone now, I thought. So I settled back down into my sleeping bag. Then I heard it again. I unzipped the tent, put on my shoes, and walked around the area looking for what I might have left an evidence of the animal who had found it. Still nothing. I got back in the tent, definitely starting to feel a little unnerved. Suddenly, something large and heavy leaped on top of my tent. Through the fabric, I could see the outline of its long, sharp claws. From the sound of its walk and the size of its feet, I could tell it was something large, except at the same time, it was almost weightless. The sag in my tent is about what I would have expected to have had a mouse or a chipmunk run across my roof.
Absolutely not.
Yeah, but this was obviously not a mouse or a chipmunk. It was large and clawed and weirdly weightless. I went through the song and dance of punching the roof and hitting nothing, and then looking outside. Karen went outside again and seeing nothing. And then all I decided I could do was try to go back to sleep. The next morning, I drove up onto a mountain biking town about 2 hours away, where I encountered a trail crew in the woods. We got to talking, and I mentioned what had happened the previous night before. And the guys said, "It sounds like you met the Wendigo." They all replied in total seriousness. She says, I'm always skeptical about claims of the supernatural, but of all possible explanations of what happened that night, the Wendigo is what makes the most sense.
I don't like that. Why did it let her
That's crazy.
Live? Why is she alive?
Why did she open the door and go out?
And where was it?
I don't know.
Why couldn't
she never saw
anything? I mean, Wendigos are supposed to be super fast. So
Ooh, that's true.
I don't like that.
Yeah, I don't know.
Okay. My next story.
Okay.
It says, the title, "It had a dog's body, but with human hands and feet."
Oh my God. That's gross.
This one is
that's so scary.
It's a bit, yeah. Okay. So I was spending a month with my cousins at my grandma's house. It was August, and my cousins ranged from 10 to 15, and I was the oldest, being 15. I was staying with a 10, 13, and 14-year-old. We stayed up telling scary stories often, of course.
Of course.
But one night, a few weeks in, we decided to make a campfire out back. My grandma's house is in a rural suburb. The neighbors aren't too far when you're driving down the road to her house, but in the backyard, it's thick forest with man-made paths through it.
Okay. Each
house is on a hill, so only part of the basement was actually underground.
Okay.
This isn't important until later. So we're towards the east side of her yard in a smallish patch of open land. Wow, I'm really struggling with this one.
Well, and my internet's starting to go out too.
Uh-oh.
You're glitching.
Or is it just how I'm talking?
No, I think you're glitching.
Okay. You couldn't see the neighboring yards from there, and there was probably 3/4 a mile to each side of us, which belonged to my grandma. It was maybe 11 at night, and we were playing Truth or Dare after telling scary stories. And my 14-year-old cousin dared me to the 13-year-old to go walk through the paths for 10 minutes or so. I said yes right away, as I wasn't easily scared and rather level-headed. Karen and this person would get along.
Yes.
But my younger cousin was a bit more hesitant. We didn't bring a flashlight because it wasn't pitch dark yet, and we could see enough to not die.
Enough to not die.
Yeah.
I love that.
Yeah. We were walking through the paths for about 5 minutes and could barely see the fire through the trees when we decided to turn. In the middle of the path, there was a large dog-like creature hunched over with its front hands an inch from the ground. What I remember most was how its eyes were so bright white. And it was humanoid dog-shaped with a human-like head, but a dog-like body, but human hands and feet. Could you imagine standing there?
No.
I was traumatized when I was walking down a path. I turned around on the same path, and there was, boom, a turtle. I couldn't imagine a humanoid, figure like this. I can't.
A turtle.
There was. And I turned around. I was like, where did you come from? Because you were not there. And it was like literally a split second. I turn around, there's a turtle. So like, and I was flabbergasted by this turtle. I can't imagine seeing this humanoid type dog. Ugh. It
That's
looked
creepy.
Yeah,
No.
it looked right at us, and I know I was paralyzed with fear as it dashed away the opposite direction from us towards a creek that ran through the yard. Eventually, my cousin and I screamed bloody murder, and the other cousins and my grandma ran to us. I don't remember much here because I was really disoriented and I couldn't think properly. But I did wake up in bed, so I assumed that I was brought up to the house. So like so disoriented that and then you just wake up and you're in bed, you know? I mean,
crazy.
At that point I'd be like, that was a nightmare. Like I was
that's what I would think too. That was a dream.
All the kids slept in the basement in a big room with sliding glass doors to the outside, as the room was on the side that wasn't underground. Okay.
Right.
My bed was pressed against a big glass window, and I could see all my cousins playing outside down below. The house is in Michigan, so it's slightly chilly even at the end of August. And there was a slight breeze, so I put on my jacket and ran to join them outside, skipping breakfast, not wanting to miss out on any fun. Mm-hmm. When I got down there, I could tell they weren't playing, but rather running to get my grandma. Her dogs, both of them, sadly, were dead. Ripped up. That night we went to bed early. I woke up at maybe 2 a.m. because I felt something hit my head. My cousins were all sitting on the double bed opposite of me on the other side of the room. There was only one bunk bed and 2 double beds. The double beds for me and my 14-year-old cousin. They were being quiet and staring at me. The 13-year-old nodded his head toward the window. I froze. They all looked afraid. I turned my head slightly to the side, and I saw a really messed up looking face pressed to the window with gaping eyes looking down at me.
Oh my God.
I don't like it. I screamed so loud and it bolted. My grandma called the police after I told her what happened, and they found nothing. I went home after that, and I've never been there during night again.
Not going to grandma's house.
Nope, not at all.
Wow.
Yeah. That's all I have. I do have one. It's super long, but I think we could probably fit this all in one episode. So just make it a fun, longer episode.
That's all we have for this episode. We hope you enjoyed it. As always, please send us any topics you want us to jump into, and we'll do that. You can find us at www.c3witchypodcast.com. There you will find pretty much everything about us that you could possibly want. Links to our episodes, links to our social media, links to our merch, our monthly newsletters, and more. We have started our new After Dark series. There's episodes out on that now. So come subscribe to us either through patreon.com or through Buzzsprout, whichever one you prefer. And Wren can explain the differences. She did a good job last time explaining what the differences are.
Now,
if you want.
Okay. So Buzzsprout subscription is where you just you pay money starting $3 and up to be able to listen to our bonus episodes on the same platform that you listen to our normal episodes. It's very easy to use, but you get nothing else. It's only our episodes. And our Patreon, you also get the episodes, but you also get bonus content like spells, recipes. What else do we do?
Drink recipes, cocktails.
Drink recipes. And so I know we talked about this last episode, but River and I are very different, and I would prefer the Buzzsprout. So it's just I'm always on the go. I just want to listen, same platform. I just pull up my Spotify, listen to it on Spotify without having to do anything.
Whereas I would prefer the Patreon because I like all the extra goodies. We have like witchy to-do lists and stuff like that are free for our patrons. So whichever one of those works for you, please come support us. thank you guys for the ones who are
Yes.
supporting us. You guys are absolutely amazing. We can't do this without you. I mean, our husbands love us and everything, and they support us, but it sure does takes time and money and effort. And they, any help you all can give us is just really greatly appreciated.
Yes. You could also help us by reviewing us on Spotify and Apple Podcasts or wherever you listen to your podcast. You can rate us 5-star. I'm just kidding. However you want to rate us, and that also helps us a lot. It gets our podcast out there.
We're also trying to get all of our episodes put up on, except for the ones that you pay for, put up onto YouTube. I think I've got maybe 7 put up so far.
9.
9, whatever it is. I'm working on it. So you can also start listening to us there. Definitely check out our After Dark series. I think it's awesome. We're having a really good time with that.
Yes, we are.
And I guess
I think that's it.
Thanks so much for listening, and we'll be back.
And
until then, stay witchy.
Woo.